Hi guys, this is Klazart bringing another audio commentary, and this time I'm commenting on the OSL round of 16 day 2 matchup between Fantasy and Backho. And this is going to be on Return of the King. We've got Backho at the top left hand corner of the map, obviously the Protoss player, and we've got Fantasy at the top right hand corner of the map, obviously the Terran player, who is in red. So looking forward to this matchup, guys, even though on paper this shouldn't be a contest. It really shouldn't. If you look at the statistics, Backho's win rate versus Terran and Fantasy's win rate versus Protoss, if you look at the statistics on this map, where Terrans generally, this is Return of the King by the way, and again, some more of that great artwork that we saw in previous games as well of this day. Those two guys are just fantastic. I gotta tell you, I hope if they put up a YouTube page or something, I would definitely subscribe. They're cool. But yeah, and Terrans have been having a good time on this map if you look at the statistics, both versus Zerg and versus Protoss. So it is a little bit of a Terran haven, and considering that Fantasy is considered to be generally, I guess, in the wider community as a higher caliber StarCraft player than Backho. Although Backho has come on leaps and bounds. I remember when he first emerged on the scene, he was a little bit of an object of ridicule in terms of the commentators, and he definitely played the clown for a little bit, making some silly errors and kind of almost, I guess as the phrase is now entered, yucking himself, even though I'm not sure I'm a fan of that phrase personally, but I think it describes the situation well. But yeah, Fantasy looks like he's just, I'm not sure who that player is with the Starly cap, who that fan is. I'm guessing it might be actually a StarCraft pro player himself. Anyway, maybe you guys can enlighten me if you recognize who that is. Fantasy, the fairly started opening, Racks and Refinery, gateway up for Backho as well as Assimilator, and he still hasn't set his Probot to Scout. Looks like he's just going to start sending it out now after putting that Cybernetics core down. And yeah, so it's going to be interesting this matchup because in theory Backho shouldn't have a chance. But here's hoping he gives a little bit of a fight to Fantasy. I'm sorry I don't have the exact statistics for you guys. And Backho's circling his probe around the top, and I wonder if he's going to be trying something funny here. He is. So he must have sent a probe earlier and scouted. I'm sorry guys, I'm functioning on like 4 hours of sleep. After I did that last couple of commentaries, I just woke up and for some reason I can't sleep anymore, so I'm awake, and so I thought I'd do a couple more commentaries. It's just one of those things where you don't sleep at a proper time, and then you guys you then can't really get a proper night's sleep, so you just kind of have to make do. Fantasy meanwhile building his factory. He's walled off his choke, and he's building his factory behind it. Backho with the proxy pylon, but this could prove great for Backho, or it could prove disastrous. Ideally, when you're doing some sort of a proxy build and you're trying to catch your opponent off guard, what you want is for them to be unprepared, and what you want is for them to have minimal defenses. So ideally, you actually want them fast expanding almost. Fantasy going for the factory obviously means that he's gonna not be spread as thin if he doesn't have a command center up, and Fantasy just scouting around with that SCV trying to see what Backho's up to, because he's been in Backho's base, he's seen that Backho doesn't have any tech, and Fantasy's gonna find this proxy pylon by Backho, and he's spotted the proxy pylon. So Backho with the proxy pylon, Fantasy's seen it, and he's well prepared for it because he started up his factory anyway. Dragoon out meanwhile, but a little too late for Backho. And I mean, that's what happens. These guys are so good, these pro players. If they get in your base, they can tell by the number of buildings you have at any given point in time, and the number of probes and all the rest of it, just from a glance, what is missing and what should be there, and therefore know that you're trying to build something else outside, or you're trying to do something else. And that's the kind of skill level it takes, that kind of judgment it takes, and game sense it takes to play at this level. Fantasy having spotted that pylon, now putting that command center down because he knows that he's got his factory up. He knows that Backho now can no longer continue with the proxy build because it's been revealed, and so immediately putting that command center down, which probably is part of his build anyway. I think he's probably planning to do that anyway, one back into CC, but he knows what's coming from Backho, and he knows that he's safe to defend against it, and it just gives him that little bit more assurance. Backho meanwhile with the lone Dragoon just pounding away at that supply depot. I don't think he's gonna achieve too much there. He's putting a second gateway down as well as his robotics facility, and it looks like Backho is gonna rely on this sort of reverb with come Dragoon push to really inflict damage on Fantasy and hope that can help him win the game. Fantasy now getting his command center built up, and once again just sending that SC there just to make sure that even though it's been scouted, Backho isn't being cheeky and trying to sneak in a proxy attack from somewhere. Starport also going up for Fantasy, which I personally am a huge favorite of that. If you have any inkling that your Protoss opponent is going robotics facility, and which to be honest, 9 times out of 10 they will. I mean, rarely you'll see some crazy person like Bisu decide to attack with DTs straight up and rush down the ramp. But generally, I think that raids can be so good because they just immobilize that shuttle and make it very difficult for that shuttle to be useful early on, especially without shuttle speed upgrade, which you don't have early on. So it just makes it so difficult for the Protoss player to do any sort of effective harass. And really, if a Protoss player cannot do any effective harass early on once they go for that kind of robotics facility Reaver shuttle build, if they cannot do effective harass, that pretty much seals the deal. And Backho just taking out that SCV, pushing forward with his Dragoons just to try and keep Fantasy back in his base. Fantasy with 3 siege tanks out already, well positioned, comfortably positioned, and he will have that Wraith to help him in his defense against the shuttle. It's just a question of him catching the shuttle in the right position. Observatory going down now for Backho as well, but he should have his first Reaver out any moment now. Fantasy has got that starport. I'm not sure if he's built an engineering bay. That's the only slight risk with the Wraith. If you don't anticipate correctly and the opponent does get in there, potentially they can do a little bit of damage. He has invested the minerals in the starport. I'm not sure if he's got his engineering bay. I haven't seen him building it yet. Now pushing it. He's got about 6 Dragoons and a shuttle with a Reaver, and he would be wise to load a Dragoon into that shuttle as well, which he probably will. The first Wraith, I haven't seen. The first Wraith is already out. He's building a second Wraith and just building blocking buildings as well to prevent the Dragoons from really getting in range. And he's got his siege tanks well positioned for a defense. So I think Backho's going to struggle. Fantasy's going to be, and Backho's going to run right into that Wraith with that shuttle. So that's going to be horrible for him. He's pulling the shuttle out, still trying to find an opening. He knows he has a limited window of time, trying to lure that Wraith into the range of those Dragoons. The Wraith takes some damage. Now the Dragoons move in. Now the Reaver is dropped. Picked up in the shuttle. Shuttle gets down. Good micro by Backho, it has to be said, because he kept that Reaver alive for maximum time with the shuttle that he could have. But now the Reaver is coming under attack. He's trying to keep those Dragoons out of range of the 2 siege tanks on the ramp. He's taken the 1 siege tank down. Now he's moving in range of the ramp. The Reaver gets taken down. The Dragoons are there. He's still got 3 Dragoons left. He's going to take out that last siege tank. The last siege tank gets taken down. But there's still, actually, he takes the second siege tank, but there's still one there. So Fantasy's defense holds. And really, that Wraith was instrumental there. Backho with a couple more. Backho forced to pull back to the ramp. And really, after that successful defense, you could probably argue that Fantasy should win this game. And I think Backho has actually gone for a double Nexus here, double expand straight away. After that push, realizing that he was behind in terms of his economy, he's trying to put 2 Nexus down straight away to catch up. Using obviously that attack as a way to put pressure on his opponent and hopefully delay it. Actually, it does look to me, just looking at the minimap, I haven't seen his base carefully yet. I haven't verified it, but it looks to me like he's taken expansions. Yep, he's taken 1 there, and yep, he has. He's taken expansions at both the I was get 11:30 and 10:30 positions, or 10 o'clock position. So he's taken 2 expansions straight away, and I think that's a great. It's slightly gutsy, and some might even call it reckless and foolhardy. But personally, I think it's a great move by Backho, because he has killed a couple of siege tanks of Fantasies. He did kill that Vulture as well, and he did put Fantasy under a little bit of pressure. But Fantasy now is going for a counter with a drop. Actually, he might just take that expansion first to start with the drop ship. But Backho does have an observer in there, so he knows what Fantasy is going to be throwing at him. He's seen the dropship, and he's seen the has he seen the Vultures? Because the Vultures are now scouting around. They spotted a probe, but now Fantasy is going to see that Expo at the 10 o'clock position. The key question is whether he sees that Expo at the 11:30 position, because he's going to expect the 10. He's going to expect an Expo. He's going to expect the 10 o'clock Expo. Backho surprisingly hasn't taken the expansion to the top left-hand corner, just above the island expansion. But I guess he felt he needed to get the 3-base build going. Fantasy now coming in with the dropship, and this is going to be key here. Backho really needs to defend this to have the time to get back in the game, and Fantasy is just going to circle around towards that Expo that he is aware of, and it's going to be down to Backho to defend this. And Fantasy now already in with the Vultures, placing the Spider Mines, now coming in with the dropship, and Backho's going to have a hard time defending this. I'm not sure he's got enough forces to really hold Fantasy off here. He does have the Observer in play, now the Siege Tanks up on top of the ramp with the Vultures in front of them. It's going to be incredibly difficult for Backho with the Dragoons to save this expansion, because he really needed some Zealots there, or so even a Zealot bomb. He does have a shuttle, so maybe he could drop a probe bomb to try and save his. He's trying to circle around with the Dragoons, try and create a flanking maneuver and get up behind the siege tanks. Backho Fantasy pulls away. He pulls away. He loads up the dropship and pulls out. So Backho manages to save his expansion. Meanwhile, Fantasy has discovered the other expansion as well at the 11:30 position. Is putting pressure on there. So Fantasy knows what Backho's doing. He knows he needs to put pressure on, but